Welcome to the first episode of Old Lady Escape. I'm Lisa Forbes.
And I'm Shirley Van Velzer.
We are going to talk about some of our favorite things and do some interviews, and we hope that you find our broadcast interesting. The first thing that I thought about when I thought about doing this broadcast was doing some good news, because we hear so much bad news on TV and everything. So I've been looking around for good news stories, and this will kind of date this broadcast, and it won't air the day we tape it, but I thought it was kind of exciting that the new royal baby was born this morning.
Yes, I heard that too.
And it's a girl. I don't think they've decided on a name yet.
Right. I understand they don't want to use Diana because of the connotation, I guess. But I think Diana's middle name was something like Louise, and they may use that.
The royals often have such a long string of names.
Yes.
They can put almost anything in there. But I don't know what they'll call her. So baby George, I guess, came to the hospital after the baby was born, or maybe before. I think it was after. Anyway, I thought that was good news. So
yes, it is.
That's my good news story for
thank you
for today. So you just came back from a cruise in Mexico. What was that like?
It was absolutely wonderful. They make you feel like royalty in all respects. The embarkation going on is all organized, and they have someone take your larger luggage to your stateroom or cabin, whichever. The friend I went with has been on so many cruises that we were upgraded to elite, had a mini suite with a balcony, and I had never done that before on any other cruise, but it was fun.
So you could stand out there and watch the
ocean and watch the ocean, or if you're in
land.
port, you can see the towns and all of that. And the food was wonderful. We alternated between the formal dining room and the buffet so that we had a variety. No matter where you go, the food is good. Even the breakfast buffet is fabulous. Entertainment, they have shows almost like Las Vegas. And during the day, they have different activities, or if they're in port at certain cities like Cabo, Loretta, La Paz, and Puerto Vallarta, you could go ashore and either just mind your own time or take tours, which is a little extra, but everything else is included in the price.
So where was it that you went into the port, onto the land?
In Cabo.
And
we did go in and walk around the little town, and there are lots of shops. Of course, it's tourist-oriented, but it was fun going down the street and seeing all the shops and the people. You took a tender, which is like a small shuttle boat from the ship to the pier.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I've never done a cruise. I get so seasick, I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a shame. They do have things, patches and things you can take, I think.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you don't even realize you're on the ocean. You barely feel it. Once or twice, maybe if it's rough, you feel like a sailor going down the hallway and trying to keep steady. But there are railings on all the walls, so it's not bad.
Well, we just went to Catalina one time and I was okay as long as I was up on the deck.
Yes.
But when I went down inside the boat, I couldn't deal with that. So if I went on a cruise, I might have to sleep on the deck. I wouldn't be able to go to my room.
On this particular Golden Princess liner, there are 17 decks. So you could be almost anywhere.
So I could find some place to hang out outside. Okay, well, one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is talk about favorite things, whatever they are. And I've been reading a book. I'm kind of a slow reader, so I've been reading it for quite a while, but it's called A Spool of Blue Thread, and it's by an author named Ann Tyler that I have loved for years. She writes about just everyday life in Baltimore, Maryland, and that's where she lives, and she just writes about fictional characters, but I I'm I don't know how much she draws from the people that she knows in real life, but I always love her characters. They're always interesting. And this book is no different from the others that I've read. It's really fun, and sometimes she's quite funny, and sometimes it's touching, and I've really enjoyed reading it. And she's not going to write any more books. And I'm kind of sad that her book writing is coming to an end, but I'm really enjoying this book that's her last, and I would recommend it to fiction readers because it's just really an enjoyable book. I also found a recipe that I liked for baked chicken. You put 3 to 4 chicken breasts in a 9 by whatever pan.
Usually.
Yeah.
9 by 12.
Whatever size those are. And you just put some prepared pesto that you buy at the store on the chicken, and put 2 slices of tomato on each chicken breast, and then cover it with grated mozzarella cheese.
Oh,
and
that sounds
bake it. I think it's at 400 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. And I, live part-time in a hotel, and so we don't have an oven there. We have a
my
toaster
goodness.
oven
I see.
that theoretically will bake things, but it doesn't always work like it's supposed to. So I have started cooking almost everything in a crock pot, and I tried this recipe in the crock pot rather than the oven, and it turned out really good. I liked
use
it a
my
lot.
crock pot. I wouldn't mind getting that recipe from you.
Well, I'll give it to you. And it was really good. I liked it a lot. So that's the recipe of the week, I guess.
Okay.
So we are going to have an interview in this episode with a friend of mine from way back, from when I was in first grade, I think is when I met her. And her name is Alice Brogan, and she collects antiques, and we're going to talk to her about her antiquing.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
right now, I kind of wanted to talk to you about your photo album that you brought with you. I'd like to
Well,
see what's in it. And
you could say it's an antique too. From the early 50s.
well, that would mean I'm an antique, so I don't
No. We won't talk about that.
Okay, who are these?
This is Cliffy Stone, the leader of the band, and Tennessee Ernie Ford. This is part of the band. He plays the banjo, and he's called Hermit the Hermit. He's Cliffy Stone's father.
Oh,
And down here is Merle Travis. He sang with the band, and he's also well known because he's the one that wrote 16 Tons for Ernie Ford to sing.
oh, I remember that one so well, listening to Ernie Ford sing
Yes.
it with that booming, deep
Yes.
voice.
And he's the writer of that song. This is the girl singer in the band, Bucky Tibbs. Male singer, Eddie Kirk. He played in the band. This is another picture of the whole group. And they would play on Saturday night out in El Monte. These are other singers, and Ernie Ford down at the bottom.
That's a picture of Ernie Ford down there?
Yes.
He is handsome, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And everybody knows that I was crazy about it. This is a steel guitar player, Speedy West, in the band. Harold Hensley, he played the fiddle in the band. Another picture, informal picture of Ernie that one of my friends took, because you could go right up to the stage. It wasn't like a concert, in an auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if these will show up very well, but these are just snapshots that we took. There was a radio station in Pasadena, KXLA, and they had a noontime show. And on all of my school holidays, we would go up there and go in the studio and watch the program.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It was. And these are some more just snapshots that I took. And that's kind of the history of my life as a young teenager, going to country western dances with my mother.
Well, that sounds really fun.
It was.
Okay, well, I think now we'll go to our interview with Alice Brogan. She's just a really fun person, and I hope you enjoy getting to know her. Anyway, this this is Alice K. Brogan. I think we met in first grade, didn't we?
Or before.
Yeah, when we were just little
amazing.
kids. And we lost touch for quite a few years after we got to be adults, but we've been back in touch on Facebook and stuff for a while. And she collects antiques.
Oh, I see.
And this is Shirley Van Velser. She's my
Hello.
buddy, and she's a wild woman.
What?
God.
Just because I like motorcycles?
All right. You've got my replacement there, I guess.
No one could ever replace you, but she's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So she's just come back from a cruise to Mexico down the Baja. So
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
I haven't.
Oh, I recommend it anytime. Unless you get seasick, it might not be that fun, but the one I went on was with a friend. She'd been there many times, and I just replaced someone who was going with her, so I fell into a lucky spot.
Oh, good.
But speaking about cruises, I would highly recommend the Alaska Inland Passage one. I went on that a few years ago, and that is a lot of fun. A lot of shore excursions and everything.
Oh, neat.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I would like to do the Baja one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be fun.
That was fun.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you get started collecting antiques, Alice?
Well, my mother's best friend, Jackie Bagley, they were friends for 44 years before my mom passed away. So clear back in the 40s. But her and her husband were antique dealers. And they used to go clear back east and bring truckloads of antiques back out from the east. And then they would have an auction, a big auction there in Paul, Idaho. And we started going over to that, and her being a dealer, and her antique passion just rubbed off on me. Her favorite things to, were lamps, antique lamps, and she had some fabulous ones. And then glassware. And then my aunt gave me some of her old hats, and that got me going on antique hats.
Oh, I think
that's
hats would be so
amazing.
much fun. I love
Yeah,
hats.
I never thought of that.
I've always kind of wished they would come back. Like, people do
Me
wear
too.
hats some, but everybody used to wear them, and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
'em.
To go to church, you had to have your hat and gloves on.
Yes.
And,
When I
and
graduated
boy,
from high school, I had to wear a hat and gloves and all of that too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
to church.
No, to our senior luncheon, I remember we had in school.
Oh,
And
yes.
when I went to apply for a job, which was the same day, hat and gloves and everything.
That's my mom lived in the San Francisco Bay Area during World War II, and they were over on the Berkeley side. And she said that if you wanted to go into San Francisco, you didn't dare go without your hat and gloves.
Oh my goodness.
You had to be dressed in your hat and gloves.
You know, my mom was in San Francisco during World War II for a while too.
Really?
Yeah, my grandmother was married to not my grandfather. He had died, but he worked down there during the war, and my grandmother and my mother went down there
Grandma
to be with
Pratt?
him. Part of the time, they kind of went back and forth, but
Grandma Pratt?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So,
Do you remember her teaching us to sew on that treadle sewing machine?
Oh yeah, you know, I inherited the treadle sewing machine. Do you remember Sheila, my cousin Sheila?
Yes.
Lap Trujillo?
Yes.
She learned on it too, and I gave it to her. She wanted it really badly, and I gave it to her, and it was really hard for me to do that, but I felt like it was a good thing to do. So, and I've moved so many times, it's probably a good thing not to have that heavy old thing,
Yeah.
but I loved it.
Well, John's aunt gave me hers, so I've got one also,
That's wonderful.
Cool.
and it still works. And when she gave me that night and it worked, and it made me think of the dresses that your grandma helped us make, and we wore them to school, and we thought we were so cool.
We were.
Yeah. We made them just alike. It was great. And I remember that, though, making them on that old treadle sewing machine.
Yeah.
That was tons of fun.
That's what I learned on also.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
But
wow.
my grandmother gave hers away to someone else, and my mother and I were very upset.
I'll bet. I'll
Yeah.
bet. Yeah. So, it was Jackie, and I just got going on the antiques, and just the glassware, I think, became a passion for me, just because it just fascinates me that it's made it, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. And I just go, wow, that's just incredible that, it made it through that long. And same with the hats, because with hats or any antique textile, the thing that destroys them is dust and sunlight.
Yeah.
And so, with hats, really got to be careful to keep them out of the sunlight and keep them dusted every once in a while. And it's just, they're just fun. Absolutely fun. We lived in Michigan for a year, and I found a antique store out there in Royal Oak that these two gentlemen owned. And it just got so that I would go in and put some on layaway, and a couple of weeks later I'd go get them off, put some more on layaway, and get them off. And it just got so that every single time I'd walk into the store, they knew me by name. Well, hello, Miss Alice. And so, and then I've bought some off on eBay, and there's one lady on eBay that just has absolutely fabulous hats. And whether I buy them or not, I always have to just, I put them on my watch list just to watch them, just to see how much they go for. And man, some of them are people pay a lot of money for them, depending on what they are and stuff, and what era they're from. And the Victorian and the Edwardian ones are sometimes just go for. One of hers went for like $766 one time, because it was just mint condition. It was beautiful.
Wow.
So, and the ones that are just incredibly hard to find are those giant pitcher hats, like from the Titanic era.
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't see those real often at all, but in fact, I've been in antique stores from Michigan to Idaho to California, Nevada, and I've actually only been able to see or hold one in my hands one time, And the weird thing is it was right here in Boise.
Wow.
And the lady that had the store that had it, someone else already had it on layaway. But she let me just look at it, you know, and hold it and look at it. It was, oh, wow. Just, and she actually found it at some estate auction clear out in the middle of nowhere, like clear out in Parma or something. And she said she remembers standing there at that antique auction thinking, she said it was November and it was cold and it was windy. And she said, I remember getting out of my car thinking, boy, there better be something here worthwhile. And that there ended up being, you know, these fabulous antique hats.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
So-
But I have one of my favorite ones here to show you.
Yeah. Let's see.
A couple of them.
Oh,
Oh, I
that's
like
beautiful.
So here's this one, and I actually, the lady that I got this one from off of eBay had the picture of her great aunt in this hat,
Oh,
and
fun.
sent that to me. And then here's one of my other favorite ones.
Oh, that is
that. Oh, yeah.
wonderful.
And my Aunt Alice that lives down in Alameda, she actually gave me a couple of hers, and I've got her alligator shoes and an alligator purse that she gave me. So, you know, and then I've got my Aunt Ora's ones that she gave me, and hers were newer though. Hers were more 50s, 60s. But, you know, still I have those. And probably my favorite era of the hats is the 20s and the 30s. Because in the 30s, they just got so absolutely flamboyant with them.
Yeah.
But then there again, the Edwardian ones like this one, you know, and the Victorian ones, but those are just so hard to come by because they just haven't made it very much for 100 years.
Yeah. So, you said you do hats, and what was the other thing that you especially like to?
Glassware
Oh, glassware.
and lamps. I love the antique lamps too.
Have you collected any of the depression glass, like the green glass or the pink glass, or?
Mm-hmm. I have a little bit, yeah. I have a couple of pieces of the green and a little bit of the pink. I've actually got stemware too. That I had got the whole set from Jackie, and it's the etched crystal, actual stemware, you know, to drink out of. And then I also like I'll show you these. So like,
Oh, isn't that pretty?
Oh, yeah.
and then the plate.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is. Beautiful.
And yeah, I've got a china cabinet full of glassware, and then I've got glass front cupboards, and they're full.
How do we tell the age of glassware? Because I have some old from my mother-in-law and my grandmother, but I have no idea how old it would be.
Oh, really? Glassware is really interesting to research because and that's really cool that you've got them from them. So, did they give you any information on them?
No.
No.
I'm sorry, no.
I would say that the best resource for glassware like that is there's a company out in, I believe they're in North Carolina, but it's called Replacements Limited. And if you take a picture of it and email it, they will identify it for you.
Oh, all right.
the stemware that I got from Jackie, all we knew is the lady she got it from said she had it for 30 years. Jackie had it for 20 years, and I've now had it for at least 15. So we know it's older than that. But it ended up being from a company out of Seattle. And they were able to give me the name of it and everything, but they couldn't date it exactly because a lot of times a manufacturer will just keep making the same
Oh, I see.
the same style or pattern, I guess is what you would say. But with that information, I know that this is over 65 years old.
Well, I know I have some that's at least that old because we used it when I was a kid. And I'm not going to give away my age, but they're short stem. We used them for pudding dishes, and they're glass. So they have to be 65 to 70 years old at least.
Oh yeah. Are they what color are they?
They're just clear glass, very thin, with a little design around the edge, the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stem is only about this high. And then they have a round bottom on them to stand on, and then the cup is about this big around. Just holds like maybe a half to 3/4 of a cup of pudding. And that's what we used when I was a kid.
Boy, your mommy was very nice to let you eat out of those. I tried to ping one of mine, the Wedgwood pattern ones. I just pinged it, and it shattered.
Oh,
I bet that made you
what a shame.
crazy.
Made me cry. And John's family's all from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and there was an antique store up there that I just, when you go up to visit, I'd love to go up there. And I bought these little cordial glasses that were purple. I think I paid $8 a piece for them, and there was 4 of them. And then I was walking out of the store, and they had a whole bunch of resource books sitting there. And right on the front was the glassware I just bought. And so I just, flipped it open and found it. And these glasses that I had just paid $8 for were actually worth $40 a piece.
Oh my goodness. Amazing.
So, that was fun. But that's the other thing with Replacements Limited too, is they can tell you about what their value is. And that's American Pickers, the show I was watching. The one guy on there made the comment a while back that eBay is the worst thing to happen to antique dealers because it's made the whole market global now. And so it's really, really brought prices down on antiques in general. But it's also the other thing is it's just how badly somebody wants a certain item, and I've seen them, like on that one antique hat that I sat there and watched it, and it went to $766. So, yeah, I know somebody went way over value on it, but they just wanted it that bad,
Yeah.
and evidently had $766 to blow on an antique hat,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of funny, but yeah, it's fun. The hunt for it is fun, and then putting it up and displaying it is fun, and just the passion that they've actually made it 100 years, something glass especially
Especially,
survived that long. But yeah, now you've got me curious as to what your glasses are.
I'll have to bring them over sometime, huh? And put them on Skype.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
show
I'd
it to
love
you.
to
they're
see
they're just
those.
sitting up in my cupboard, in the kitchen, and
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
use them.
Yeah.
So
I'm to the point where there's absolutely no room left for any glassware. Just none. So, but another thing, and I'm sure you two ladies could relate to this, but it's when you go into an antique store and you see the stemware that you bought yourself in 1972 and they're calling it an antique.
yes, I was in our museum and I saw a bowl in there that's just like the bowl I still use to make Jell-O in. It's yellow, fluted around the bottom with curves on the top, and that has to be 70 years old because my mom made Jell-O in it. And
Yeah,
I do use that.
yeah. I know. It's just funny. I did. Yeah, I bought this whole set of stemware. There was goblets and water glasses, and then I bought a pitcher. And the first time I walked into an antique store and they were sitting there, I went, "Are you kidding me? I bought those and how can that, yeah, how can that be? I bought those myself in 1972 and I still have them. I bought them at Tingwall's. They're in Jerome.
Oh,
And
That's
then
an
I bought
antique.
mom.
The store itself.
yeah.
Yeah. And I bought mom some glasses too and a pitcher there that, yeah, I've got those too, but yeah, it was pretty funny. So, but and on the other hand, if you once you find out about yours, make sure you write that down for your family
I know.
and so that you can pass the information on. Like this belonged to my mother or my great grandmother. I remember using it as a child, and so that way they also have a way to track it. It's just the family things to me mean a lot
Oh yes.
mean a lot to me.
I agree, and that's why I have so much sitting around.
Yeah. Hmm.
The depression glass I was talking about, I don't know if you remember at Grandma Pratt's house, there was always a bowl with cookies in it on her table.
Yes.
I have that, and it's pink glass, and it's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
I love it. It's
Yes.
probably
Well,
my favorite possession.
Yeah, you love it because it was Grandma Pratt's.
yeah.
Yeah, not, and I absolutely understand that. It's my mom sold almost everything she owned and moved down to California with my sister. And the one thing I did get was a pocket watch, and I thought for years and years and years that it was from my mother's side. And I went to visit my Aunt Alice, that was my dad's sister. And she said to me, "Do you by any chance have my mother's pocket watch?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so. I never knew we had your mother's pocket watch." And she described it, and I said, "Well, absolutely, I have that. Yeah, I've got it. I always thought it was mom's mother's." And she said, "Oh, no. That was my mom's." And so I, was able to find that out about that watch. And then she said, "Do you have Grandpa's smoking stand?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't." And I don't know if Lisa, if you remember it, but it was a little green stand and it had a key and you could open it up and it had a music box on the inside. You wind it up and it played music.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it had a little wooden barrel in it.
Uh-huh.
And I've just kicked myself that I didn't take that, and keep
Yeah.
it in the family. Just Somebody down there in Jerome areas probably got it because Mom sold all her stuff out to the Malden's used store that was there. And I so wished I would have taken that smoking stand because I just loved it, you know. But that's what it was called. Come to find out, that little barrel in there was a whiskey barrel. It never had whiskey in it, but yeah, it was a little whiskey barrel that had the little tap on it, and then so yeah. Wished I would have kept that. That's for sure. And so I think that's how come, when I do get family treasures, that I just feel real passionate about them. And I also love the old, the vintage jewelry, the antique vintage jewelry, the rhinestone jewelry. In fact, I wore one today on my jacket, little brooch.
Oh.
But yeah, so I have too many passions, as you can tell, with the antiques. Yeah.
But that makes things interesting when you have
It
something
does.
like that to go by.
It does. Yeah.
Speaking of jewelry, I still have the set that my kid's dad gave me when we were first dating back
Oh.
in 1952 or 3.
Wow. That's great. So he must have given that to you in grade school?
No, but thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, it's been wonderful to talk to you, Alice,
And nice
Absolutely.
meeting you.
Same to you.
and to
You
see
ladies
your.
behave now. Because you
What?
said you ladies behave because you said she was trouble.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I have to keep her under control all the time.
yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, this has been a ton of fun. Absolutely.
Yes.
So I hope we'll talk again soon. Okay, that's pretty much our episode for today. Be sure, if you liked it, to hit the subscribe button and the like button. And I'm Lisa Forbes.
And I'm Shirley Van Velzer. And one thing I was going to mention when we were talking about Ernie Ford is that I was the secretary of his fan club back in 1951. And we would like to know if anyone would be interested in finding out more about this.
Thanks, Shirley. We'll see you next week.